Welcome back to the COG Weekly podcast, Season 4, Episode 12.
Yes, wow, Episode 12, and it's been a while. Probably should be, a little bit farther along in the episodes, but we have had a little bit of technical difficulties as we're both settling into the college system right now, just trying to find time for us to make room in our schedule to make sure we can do this and line it up, and then also finding interviews. This episode is obviously not an interview, as you guys can see, but do expect that we will have more interviews coming in the future. We are in talks with players and different people involved in certain clubs in Europe and around the United States. We just need to get them scheduled and get pen to paper to make sure that we can get all of those out for you guys. But today, we do have a really nice topic, one that we're very excited to be bringing to you guys, and it is the U.S. men's national team. Now, there's a lot of chatter in the air right now. There's a buzz in the air about what's going on with the national team in regards to the squad that's being selected, the friendlies that are going on right now, the kit that they're wearing, and the World Cup that's coming up in only a couple of months. So we're going to cover all of that today, get all the juicy bits about everything going on out there today. But first, Mac, how are you doing? I know you moved, you're into college right now, you're at UCLA. It's probably an incredible experience, but how are you doing? I haven't talked to you in a while because of the whole process.
We're doing good. Just finished first class of the quarter and, settling in now. Everything's going good, adapting to a new place. As you can see, just the white background.
Yeah, you got the whole studio over there.
Yeah, it's so
nice. What people don't
know
is the lack of materials that are in the studio right now.
So yeah, if you would see around me, there is no table. I've got the monitor on here on the upside down of a recycling bin, and then I've got the computer on a chair. So we're making it work, though. I think it looks pretty good.
You are. It's probably, if you had the camera and you flipped it around to show it, it would probably look like one of the Stu Days pictures.
It would.
No, it's classy.
It's
what you like to see.
Yes.
No,
exactly.
But it's good. I mean, we're getting the job done at the end of the day. You can see, again, I always say you can see. You can see, Mac, but they can't because we crop our faces. But I have my LED lights up right now, which is pretty clean.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm happy to have those going and everything. And
It's
I'm
purple,
planning on...
Purple your favorite? Yeah.
Well, the Minnesota Vikings.
Of course.
Yeah, you have to support. There was actually a kid, for everyone wondering, I'm in Dallas, Texas right now, so pretty far away from Minnesota where me and Mac both grew up. But there was a kid on my team today who was repping a Minnesota Vikings thrifted shirt. And I was like, what in the world is going on here? It was just a nice little buzz back to home. But I'm planning on getting, I think it would look pretty clean, Jack Harlow album posters to go behind me, here, and then they could actually see it in the camera every once in a while.
That would be nice. Yes.
Yeah, I think it'd just be pretty clean. He performed here a week and a half ago, and I missed it. I was actually planning to go. I didn't have anything going on that night, and then the day of, I was like, no, I can't get tickets anymore. It was a travesty. It was an actual travesty.
Yeah, he was here a couple days ago as well, and missed out.
Was?
Yeah.
Was it a paid concert, or was it for orientation students?
It was, we thought he would be at orientation, but he wasn't. He's just on his tour in LA.
Okay. Was it
right
on
now.
UCLA's campus or not?
No, it was maybe 20, 30 minutes away. So.
And in LA, that's probably 3 hours away.
Yeah,
of
exactly.
All the traffic and whatnot.
Yeah.
How is walking around and everything? Because you actually can't, first off, you don't have a car, but second off, even if you did have a car, you can't go anywhere.
Yeah, the Westwood around the campus is pretty. It's 20-minute walk into an area where there's restaurants and Target, CVS.
That's fire.
So it's not bad. But my legs are getting pretty defined and pretty muscular.
Yeah, you're gonna have huge calves by the time you come back.
It's gonna be great.
Constantly.
Yeah.
Well, campus is also relatively large, yeah. So even just walking to classes and whatnot is kind of a hike. But dude, I get so jealous. I pull up Snapchat and I go into yours and I see in Bel Air. I'm like, what on earth is going on right now? I'm in Dallas and you're in Bel Air. You're literally the Fresh Prince, the Fresh Prince of UCLA. Well, we do need to talk about the Fresh Princes of the United States now.
Oh wow, nice.
Yeah, what a transition.
Yeah.
Though. We're being honest, that was clean.
That was really nice. Yep.
But we are in a stage right now where the U.S. team is entering some friendlies so they can sort of get prepared. Gregg has trimmed down the pool to a sizable roster, and so we're just going to run through that. But like my question for you, do you want to go kits first or people first?
Ooh, let's go kits first because,
Okay.
we
have a lot to say about this.
I don't know what you think, but, personally, I was not a fan of all the backlash. I don't think they're that bad, to be honest. Like, they're just like, Nike never does anything super cool unless it's like the Nigeria kit, which is always go insane.
Crazy with them.
Yeah, honestly, I don't mind them. They're just like, if you look at Portugal's is terrible as well. Like, Nike never like, and I agree. Like, some people are saying everyone hates the kit until like they do well in them, and then they're like, "Oh, this is an iconic jersey."
No,
and it's
that's facts.
It is true. Like, I don't know. I don't mind them. I don't think they're the worst ever in like U.S. history, which people are saying.
Some people have been saying.
Yeah, okay, it's a bit ridiculous.
Do you have them up? Like, can you see them? Because like I don't know if you've seen this yet, but do you like, and if you're listening, just try and pull up the kit so you can follow along with me. Like an Oreos box. And how it has the little peel tag on the top where you peel it open. It looks like we're wearing an Oreos box. Like, I'm not kidding. That's the one problem I have with it. Like, I don't understand the shape of the tag thing on the top. If you're watching, you can see if you don't have it pulled up, they have like some tag on the top next to their like collar or where their collar would be, and it's such a strange shit. I just don't really understand it, but I do think that the USMNT badge in the middle is pretty clean. I do like that.
I do. Like, with like the thing in the middle, the little like whatever you called it, the Oreo thing.
We'll just call it the Oreo thing.
Nike, that's just like what their template is this year, and people don't really get that. Like, when Nike, they make a new template for the kit design every year that's used across every team that uses Nike as their sponsor. So, like, it has that weird thing, and a lot of other clubs have it. So, I don't know. I really don't get why they put it and should have just made it all white.
That's what I'm thinking.
Probably would have looked a little better, but
the template's there, but they keep it the same color. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Nike has the same. You're right. They have it's like a stitch pattern because they want the best feel for the players.
Yeah.
But we decided it would be like, and this is like an exaggeration, obviously, but it would be like if you had a strange stitch pattern where there was like a circle under your armpit, and then we just decided to color that red.
No,
like, just like
fair.
where their armpits are. I'd be like, why are you doing that? And like, it's obviously not that bad, but it still is it's a bit strange to me. But the rest of it's fine. The shoulder, the like little stripes on the shoulder are okay.
Yeah.
The badge in the middle, I think, is really clean. I mean, the rest of it's white, so it's like you can't really go wrong with just that. But like you said, if we perform well, like for example, if we get out of our group and it's a memorable World Cup, and I know I'm just saying get out of our group. We'll talk about expectations later, but I'm just saying like bare minimum. If we get out of our group and people are nostalgic about this time, people are going to love the kit.
I agree.
Because it's unique.
The blue one, I think I like the blue one more. I think people dislike the blue one more sometimes. Like,
yeah, for reference, we were talking about the white one, just for everyone who's wondering.
And have you seen England's new ones this year?
No, I have not.
So they're away. They did the collar, and it's like red with.
I think I know what you're talking
blue
about.
Swoosh.
I think I saw it, but I didn't like register it like too much.
So that's a different template other than the one that a lot of other teams are using. I wouldn't mind a collar jersey for the U.S. We haven't had one since like I think the last World Cup, right? That white one with the collar. Do you remember that with like
the
stripes?
A collar jersey is pretty nice.
It's always nice. Yeah,
it's slept on. I think it's classy and it's also relatively comfortable. I think people always think like, oh, the collar is going to be uncomfortable. It's going to get in your way. Like, no, it's pretty comfortable. It's classy. It's almost like wearing a really comfortable golf shirt while you're playing, which doesn't bother me at all.
Yeah,
like I think it's fine. So I don't know. I think that would be a good way to, and I think it like sort of makes a statement, like just in a way, like we're here to do business. And I know that's like kind of maybe stretching it, but I do think it matters like what you wear and like how you present yourself as a team. And so I think it would make a nice statement, especially because I think that this World Cup could definitely be the USMNT's breakout sort of time where they're able to not only get back to the level that they were at maybe 10 years ago or 8 years ago, but I think they could go farther. And I mean, I think it's many pundits have said this, and we'll get into squad depth, but we have a deeper squad than we ever have. We have a more talented squad than we ever have. But the difference between the older ones that gritted it out and were able to get farther in competition compared to this one is that passion factor. It's that representing your country factor. We have such a young team that right now I think we struggle to find that, you know, fire inside of us. Kind of like if you have a bunch of transfers or young guys coming into a team and then you play like a derby match. You know, it's just not there as much. So I think that's like. And just tying it back to the jersey, I think that's like all those little details. Like if you put a collar on the jersey, if you try to make it look classy and clean, if you represent yourself well, I think that those can help sort of emphasize what we're trying to do and what we're trying to stand for. So I do think that would be clean. Like I would definitely like to see a collar, but I mean, at the end of the day, the jerseys were chosen. The backlash was definitely not warranted, but I don't like the Oreo design.
Yeah,
like
I think that's fair. Yeah,
that's sort of my opinion on it. But I mean. Like, have you ever seen a jersey come out, except for Nigeria's, that people did all sort of communally say this is sick?
No, like really, it never happens. And usually it gets to the end of the season and people are like, oh, this is an iconic jersey.
Yeah.
No,
it's always,
it happens all the time, but we'll see. Do you want to go into those expectations first, or?
Yeah, to be fair, it would probably be good to go into those expectations, and then we could cover squad last, because I think the squad's going to take the longest. We're going to dissect like who made it, who didn't, what we think about that, because obviously Gregg had some really tough decisions to make in order to form this sort of preliminary roster, you could say. But expectations wise, I mean, what are you thinking? I mean, just looking at our group, Iran, Wales, and England, it looks hard, and I think people underestimate the strength of our group. So, like, what do you think expectations-wise, being completely honest with the team we have and the teams we're facing?
To be honest, I would say getting out of the group is definitely, I think it would be a success at this World Cup, and then honestly, once you get out of the group, it's a toss-up. Like, who knows, like, who will be matched up against and, who finished where in the other groups to make that happen. And then it's like, if we get favorable draws there, then who knows how far we could go. But I think getting out of the group is going to be huge. And I think if we don't, especially if we, like, somehow finish last in our group, I think the confidence is going to be super low. I think a lot of the hate is going to go towards Berhalter.
I would struggle seeing him continue to be the head coach if it goes poorly.
And I think there's going to be a lot of overreaction if we don't make it out of the group. But to be honest, if we don't make it out of the group, personally, I don't think that's going to be like too bad of a thing, because Iran is a very good team. They always perform decently well at World Cups. Wales is kind of on the up right now based on their form. And then England, of course, just quality team. They're known to choke, but I don't think they're going to choke out of the group stage. Yeah. So it's going to be tough. But right now, if you told me we made it out of the group and then, who knows what happens after, I'd be happy with that for sure.
Yeah. Well, I mean, 100%. And I think people sort of underestimate, first off, the quality of Iran, but second off, the quality of Wales. Like you were saying, Iran's good. They have, they're not, I don't think they're as deep as the U.S., and I'm going to be honest about that. They have the likes of Alireza Jahanbakhsh, though, who I know very well. Some people in the Prem know very well. He played for Brighton and had some really nice goals. It wasn't the best stint for him, but he has in the past proven to be a very good player, especially with Iran, scoring a lot of goals for the national team. But talking about Wales, I mean, people don't understand that, like, they have a lot of Premier League players in their team, like a lot. because they're so close, but also
Yep.
because they have talent, right? I mean, you're looking at Gareth Bale, who's not a Premier League player anymore, but he played in the Prem, he played in La Liga. He's their biggest guy. Everyone knows about Gareth Bale. But then you're looking at Dan James, Aaron Ramsey, Brendan Johnson, Wayne Hennessy, Nico Williams, Ethan Ampadu. I mean, these are people, Connor Roberts, who have all played in the Premier League or currently play in the Premier League. Ben Davies. I mean, you can just list them off. And they were all on, like, relatively mid-table, lower-table teams, some of them on top-table teams and get like a lot of time. I mean, so I think people are underestimating. Like, they're all like, oh, it's Wales, it's a small country, all they have is Gareth Bale. But like, that's because you're coming from an American perspective. And when you come at it from a neutral perspective, it's the same thing with us. Like, oh, we just have Pulisic. That's it, right? And that's not true. But then people forget about McKennie. They forget about Adams. They forget about Aronson. They forget about all these players that are making a pretty big impact in Europe right now. But it's a toss-up because I would argue that Wales have more depth in the top leagues than we do. And that doesn't mean we can't beat them. I think we're a great side, and I think that we have something different than a lot of teams because we have a chip on our shoulder. But I think that people are underestimating the power of that Wales team, especially because we're facing them first. It's our first game in the World Cup.
Yeah.
England's second, which is going to be nice. Iran's third, which is going to be a huge one because it's going to probably, I mean, at the end of the day, it's probably going to decide whether we make it through or not.
For sure.
But opening with Wales is tough. I worry about that. Just like, I don't know if, like, as a nation, we are really fully understanding how tough of a game that's going to be. I mean, it's such an even matchup, and if anything, from an unbiased perspective, they have the leg up. I don't know if you agree on that.
I would agree. I think Wales is definitely the team to knock us out over Iran, but I think another thing to consider is with Iran, there's and a lot of the teams in and around like the Middle East and that region, it's like there's not a lot of coverage and exposure over here in the US and even in Europe in those leagues and those those players. So it's easy to like underestimate that team, and then they'll come out and beat like a team like England in the World Cup because they are a good team, but no one really knows it because there's not that much exposure in the media to know about the players that they have. So I don't know. I think that's just what it makes it difficult to like kind of see where the U.S. will finish because we don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I mean, if anyone watches Porto, they'll know who Mehdi Taremi is. I mean, he's a fantastic player. He's a serial goal scorer. If you've seen the countless bicycle kicks that this guy has scored for Porto, the legendary status that he has with the fans over there, I mean, it's actually insane. He's not to be slept on at all. And in my opinion, I take Mehdi Taremi in a heartbeat as our number 9 for the USMNT. Oh, yeah. He's just a phenomenal player. So again, like Wales, I think has the leg up. I don't know if Iran has the leg up on us, but I think that they're too slept on as well. I mean, they have players that can ball that are either unnoticed or that are noticed in Europe, and we're just not taking them into account as a nation when we talk about it. Like, I swear, people are saying on social media, we're going to be able to beat Iran pretty significantly. Like, they're a good side, and everyone says they're a good side, but they're not that good. But they never, like, mention the players that they have, because I'm guaranteeing you, people aren't doing their research and actually figuring out who they have, where they play, and everything like that, because it's not your normal standard Premier League players that you see week in, week out. So people aren't fully understanding the quality that they're going to bring. So again, like it's just unfortunate because, I mean, it is the World Cup. You're not going to get an easy path to the knockout stage. I mean, it's not happening. It's the hardest stage on the planet. You need to ball, and you have 3 chances to do it in the group stage. There's no other competition like that in the world, in my opinion, where it is that cutthroat, that competitive, and that important, and you only have 3 opportunities, and then it's over for 4 years. It's truly like it's unlike anything else. And if we go into this thinking, we can probably beat out Iran and Wales because we're better, I think we're going to get smoked. If we go into it thinking it's going to be a dogfight and we're going to have to battle for it, I think we can make it through, but it's going to have to be one game at a time.
Yeah, I hope that's the mentality that Gregg brings to the squad, and not like a mentality of, you guys are so talented young players, like your talent will shine through. I don't think that's how it should go. I think it should be like, this is going to be really tough. You guys none of you have played in a World Cup yet, and you're going to need to experience this and kind of learn as you go, because you're all inexperienced at this level. Like, compared to the last World Cup we were in, there were so many players, old players like Dempsey that have played in World Cups, which I think really brought us that success. Granted, I don't think that team was as talented as we have this year, which I think is the most talented team we've ever had. But sometimes experience does shine through over talent, and it's just we're going to have to see. I think it's going to be a huge success if Berhalter harnesses that talent and turns it into results at this World Cup.
I mean, 100%. And moving into the players, it's quite interesting to see the way that Gregg is leaning. There are a lot of decisions where he is favoring the young, talented guy over the experienced guy. I mean, I'm not going to go too deep into it until we talk about defenders, but John Brooks is a great example. I mean, John has had World Cup experience. He is a very good defender. He is getting older. He has struggled with Wolfsburg last year, and he has struggled overall in his club career over the past couple of seasons. But he's turning down the opportunity to bring someone into the locker room and onto the team that knows what it takes to play in a World Cup, to bring in a young guy who might have more talent, who probably does have more talent, but then at the same time, they don't understand what it's like. And it's a whole different ballgame once you get out there. And I know, like, myself as someone who's just podcasting about it, you as someone who's just podcasting about it, we can't even explain how tough it is because we don't understand when we're out there. And it, like, all you can see is that when you have the experience, when you know what it takes, you're going to do better, because for some strange reason in the World Cup, it's not always about skill. It's just weird. Yeah. It's not. It's about who wants it more, and it's so weird because in almost every other competition, the best team always makes it through the group. The best team always makes it through the knockout stages, and it's pretty predictable. You have some nice comebacks, but it's relatively predictable. But the World Cup is so different. The pride, the national pride, the fans, the energy in the air, I mean, it's all there. Anything can happen. So I don't know if I agree with all of the decisions, but let's start with the goalkeepers. Yes. Running through them, the three that were chosen for this sort of preliminary roster for the friendly against Japan, which is taking place in Germany, I believe, which is kind of strange. But for the friendly against Japan is Ethan Horvath, Sean Johnson, and Matt Turner. So, two players that, in Ethan Horvath and Matt Turner, that have only recently come onto the scene of the national team. Leaving Zach Steffen out is definitely big. I think leaving Gaga Slanina out is also something that we should talk about, because he is trying to look at the youth and bring the youth into this. It's pretty obvious throughout the whole squad. So then, why isn't he sticking through that with Gaga, who could totally be a effective, third string in this squad? But yeah, I mean, three players that I was relatively surprised to see without other names in there, especially I would say Sean Johnson. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Sean Johnson really stands out for me out of those three names. He's always been a solid MLS goalkeeper, and he's had his runs in the, US side with friendlies and such, but I don't know, maybe he's going for experience like that. I think Matt Turner definitely is our number one at this point. I think you could say Zach Steffen maybe is more talented, but he's just fallen off a cliff at this point with his move to City and then not playing, and now he's on loan, and it's like Matt Turner just got his move to Arsenal and he's playing in, I think he's playing in the FA Cup matches. So, I don't know. World Cup is definitely form, for me at least, and I
especially
think
for goalkeepers, I would say.
Yeah, I think Matt Turner is definitely the right choice for the number one spot. Ethan Horvath, you don't hear anything about him, and then he'll show up.
Summer.
Yeah, he'll have that Nations League. I think that's the competition that we won where he subbed on and made the penalty saves and all that and was a hero, but you don't hear anything about him club wise. And I don't know. Zach Steffen is still a bit of a tricky one if you bring him with or not. just because like he's not going to play and he's not super experienced where he doesn't bring that kind of value to the squad. What other goalkeepers do you think, like Brad Guzan maybe? Like, who,
I mean,
like
it's
just a character
one.
in the locker room, you know?
Yeah, I honestly, like, I don't know. I think, yeah, I mean, you could go with Brad, but I don't. It's hard because, like you said, you're looking at bringing one player in who is your starter, and then two other players who can bring something to the team. It's not two other players who are necessarily going to play because they're probably not. The World Cup is not a long period of time. It's not a lot of games. If you win the World Cup, I think you win 7 games. It's not a lot at all. So, like, the chances, I mean, knock on wood, but the chances of Matt Turner not making it through the World Cup is so small. And if he, so like you obviously need very good backups if he does get injured either right before or during, but it's also a tough one because you need to make sure that you're bringing other things along with, other qualities along with that can help and support the team. I think Sean is an interesting one though because I think he's experienced. I do think that's true, but I don't think he's experienced in this. You know, it's really tough to say like, oh, Sean Johnson deserves to go because he has had so much more time playing in the MLS. Like, I don't really know if that correlates because it's a whole different level. It's a whole different ball game. It's a whole different level of energy. And like what you need to bring is so different that I don't really know if that is a valid thing for Gregg to be doing, like saying, oh, he's more experienced, in the professional game, but this is the World Cup. You know what I mean? Like, it does at the end of the day, like, has he played in a World Cup? No. Like, so I don't know. I think it's I think it's a tough one. But I think the only thing I would have changed actually would have been this is probably out there, but I would probably have gone with Gaga over Horvath.
Yeah.
And then I probably would have gone Gaga over Horvath and Zach over Sean Johnson.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't mind that. I think they're all talented goalies. I think Slonina would be good just for experience, even if he doesn't play. Like,
that's what I was thinking.
He's obviously our goalkeeper of the future. So if he does, like, has he committed to the U.S. yet?
He has. He turned down, I think it was Poland.
Yeah.
They tried to bring him into camp, and he just said no. Yeah,
so, I mean, I think that would be a good experience for him just to be like, when he does play in probably the next World Cup, I'd say.
Yeah.
He'd already experienced that whole tournament.
Exactly.
At least from the sideline. But moving on to defenders, you know, it is an interesting one. Like, you do see your regulars like Walker Zimmerman, which he's been shown as Gregg's
he's our guy.
He's probably his number one, along with Miles Robinson, who is out to injury, I believe. And then, you know, DeAndre Yedlin, I love that pick.
He's experienced.
Experience. He still plays. He's got quality still.
He's at Inter Miami now, and it's not the same, but he's good.
Yeah. Sam Vines, you know, he's been at the U20 level, and then he's also had his time. He has 8 appearances for the USMNT so far. I don't hate him. I don't hate that pick. I just don't know. I think obviously it's friendlies. This is not the World Cup roster, so you know we have to keep that in mind. Joe Scally, I think, is deserved. He's always, you know, he's been kind of doing very well for what team is he at? He's in the Bundesliga, I believe, right? Mm-hmm. So I like that. Chris Richards moved to Crystal Palace. He's been getting some playing time there.
Yeah, I like Chris Richards in there.
I really like that pick. I think he could potentially become a starter in that back line. Aaron Long, just another MLS, you know, it's kind of MLS experience is kind of what Gregg's going for there. Dest is an interesting one. I want to know what you think about that because he hasn't really had the playing time, and he's like almost been, you know, transferred to so many different clubs. It's just like he's had a bit of a rocky summer, and I want to know what you think about him. Is he still a starter for you in the squad?
Well, I think it's obvious that Javi is not interested. And I think that's been obvious from the start. And so at that point, you're thinking, well, if it's managerial, if it's because of his manager, and he was performing at a level beforehand, can I get that same level out of him? And is that same level going to be better than I have elsewhere? That's obviously part of it. But then another part of it is there is a real point that when you play games, you are sharper. When you are playing for 90 minutes, week in, week out, you are going to be sharper, inevitably. So, like, at the end of the day, I think there are definitely players that could probably provide more in our team. I don't think he's a starter for me. I think, honestly, like, if I'm being honest, there's a chance I put Tim Ream in here.
So, yeah, I was going to bring that up after we finished it. Like, so Cameron
I don't know who
Carter-Vickers,
for. I'm not saying Des necessarily.
Yeah.
But Des isn't a starter for me, and Tim Ream has experience.
So, yeah, Cameron Carter-Vickers with Celtic, he started the season very well. Reggie Cannon is just kind of Gregg's, like, favorite. I don't know. It's a bit of a weird pick, but he always picks him. But, yeah, moving to Tim Ream, I agree. He should 100% be there. He's a captain of a Premier League side who's doing very well. He's played in the Premier League, like, every other year of the past, like, 5 years. And he's actually finally doing pretty well in that level. Experience, like, I don't know. I really think he should be in there. And I don't know. It's hard to replace, like, Walker Zimmerman or Miles Robinson in that center back pairing. You could maybe look at outside back, but I think the way we play, our outside backs need to be more dynamic than him.
Yeah.
But I think in the squad for sure. But yeah, Gregg just doesn't really.
He doesn't like it. It's the same thing with John Brooks, and people have been talking about it forever. John Brooks doesn't get into this lineup ever since Gregg has had the reins, and Tim Ream has slowly been walked out. It's not been quick. It's not been so abrupt because people aren't talking about it the same way they talked about John Brooks. It was so abrupt with John. Everyone was like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
He's done it very smoothly with Tim, but he's not involved. And I think it's another example of Gregg favoring the youth talent over the experience when that's not even correlated to how you're playing now. Like, there are youth players in here that are not as good as Tim Ream. They're just not. Like, Tim Ream... Yes, when he plays in the Premier League, generally speaking, he is not good enough. But right now, he's captaining a team that's doing all right.
Yeah.
I think right now he's in form. So, like, yes, he struggles very often in the Premier League when Fulham gets promoted. Very, very often.
Yeah.
But I don't think that means you should take, like, some of these players over him, because I look at half of this defensive... or these defensive picks, and I think that they would struggle even more. That's just my personal opinion. I just don't, like, I don't see, like, we're just not, I think that a lot of people are looking at the players that were picked, Chris Richards, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Sam Vines, like Joe Scally. I think people are looking at these guys as if they are the Gabriel, they are the Virgil van Dijk, you know what they are the Thiago Silva of the Premier League right now. And, like, if they are, that's fine. Then you don't include Tim Ream, but they're not.
Yeah.
Like, Chris Richards isn't getting that much time with Palace. Tim Ream is captaining Fulham. You know what I mean? I just don't understand
exactly.
that. Like, it's baffling to me.
Yeah. I definitely need to see Tim Ream in that World Cup roster. But, like, besides that, I don't really have an issue with that defensive, selection. I think John Brooks, you could probably ask any USMNT fan, they would want John Brooks in that squad as well. We'll have to see what Gregg decides.
Obviously, it's not the real one. So, like, we're treating it as if it is. Trying to dissect it, but there's obviously a lot more that goes into it. Maybe Gregg needs another look at some of these players.
But it's
That's
definitely
very possible.
It's definitely a statement, and I think every national team on this international break, the teams they selected is definitely a statement to what they're looking to do for their World Cup roster.
There's a little bit of leeway with like, oh, maybe Gregg needs to see this guy play a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also the World Cup is like, what, a month and a half away?
Yeah.
So like you don't have time anymore. You should have been doing that like 5 months ago and then decided. Like you don't have the same amount of time anymore. Now you need to choose your squad and start refining it within the squad. You can't keep like having a pool of 50 players and saying, oh, who are we going to bring to the World Cup? It's going to be, oh, here's our lineup. Now how do we refine it? Because every other big national team that we're going to face, that we could face, they have players that have been playing in that national team, that have experience, that know what they're doing, and that are going to obliterate us if we don't have an identity and chemistry together. They just are. So we need to be more decisive. And if this is him being decisive, I think there are some mistakes there.
I agree. So moving on to midfield, just looking at the 6 players selected, I do not have a problem with.
I'm so happy with it.
That is exactly what I would have picked, like 2 each player.
Yes, it is. It is perfect. The only person that could be debated on is Mark Tillman. That is the only person, but I rate him.
But he's been on great form for Rangers, and it's like it's a international friendly. Why not try him out with the U.S. team? If he performs there, then maybe keep looking at him at Rangers leading up to the World Cup and then decide. I think our midfield's pretty much set with the rest of the players there.
I think we're going to use a midfield trio, and I think it's going to be McKennie, Tyler Adams, and Yunus Musa. Maybe you fit Luca De La Torre in there if he's in good form. That's my opinion. You have Kellyn Acosta on the bench. You have Tillman on the bench. And maybe they get minutes, maybe they don't. I think Luca's probably going to rotate the most if we do rotations. But honestly, that midfield trio is probably going to play 90s.
And Luca's pretty dynamic to sub on as well. Mm-hmm. He's the type of player. He has that explosive dribble ability, which we saw in, I believe it was the Gold Cup or something. Even in qualifiers when he played, like he definitely is a good player to bring on instead of maybe Kellyn Acosta. When we're winning, Kellyn Acosta is probably the better option. When we're losing or tied, Luca De La Torre will definitely open up the game for us.
That would be one thing I would say. The only thing that our midfield trio lacks is the defensive sort of presence. And I mean,
Tyler Adams brings it, but
so here's what I'd say about Tyler Adams. He's good. He's really good. He's a workhorse. Same with McKennie. McKennie's a workhorse. They know what to do. They put tackles in. Yeah. They're all over the field. But they're not going to win 50-50 balls out of the air. They're not going to body someone off the ball. They're smart and they know where to position themselves. But I think that they will struggle physically against some of the best players in the world going up against them. I think that that's sort of inevitable. I mean, if Harry Kane is dropping in as a false 9, receiving the ball, I'm sorry, but Tyler Adams is not getting the ball.
No.
So, like, I think that's the only thing we're missing. But do I think Kellyn Acosta brings that to the side? No. So, I mean, you got to work with what you have. You know what I mean? We don't have a Victor Wanyama that we can stick back.
Exactly.
We don't have a Danilo Pereira that we can stick back there or a Casemiro, you know? So we have to work with what we've got.
I mean, Michael Bradley was the last 6 we had, and I'd say maybe did a little better job at what we're saying.
He still wasn't insane at it.
No. So I agree though. I think our midfield is definitely set. Probably our most talented part of the pitch, I'd say.
I would agree.
And then moving to forwards, like I think this is the most controversial area, to be honest.
There's an absolute robbery in here, and I want you to be able to guess who it is.
I think we all know. But first of all, I love seeing Gio Reyna back.
Oh, it's class. It's class.
On his day, he can be our best player by far.
Oh, yeah.
Which we've seen. Injuries have just absolutely plagued him. I pray to God he doesn't get injured before the World Cup, because it seems like every time he comes back, he just gets re-injured. But he's instrumental to this team when he's healthy. And God, I mean, it's just like...
It's insane.
Some of these picks are like not great. I mean, personally, Paul Arriola, Jordan Morris, Ricardo Pepi.
All three
should not be seeing this team at the moment.
It's so evident.
Yeah.
You know, Jordan Pefok is having a good season. It's not like he's playing bad.
He's having a great season. And Union Berlin are top of the Bundesliga.
He is scoring in literally like every game. I don't get it. What more does he have to do? For young boys, he was class. He moves to the Bundesliga. Quote? What? No, what did he say?
When they're like, a reporter asked him, do you think Berhalter was in the stands for this game? Or do you think he's been watching you? And he said, probably not. Which is like, he knows. He's like, I'm doing super well, but it doesn't matter because like Gregg has favorites and he's not picking me. Which is like, dude, he is obviously our best choice at
He's
striker.
our 9.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? I don't understand it at all.
Yeah.
It makes no sense to me. I mean, obviously, Brennan Aronson's a no-brainer right now. Kid's going crazy in the Prem. Yeah. He's actually insane. Gio Reyna's a no-brainer. I think Josh Sargent is valid. I don't think he's a no-brainer, but I think he's valid. Yeah. Pulisic is a no-brainer. You have to bring him. He's Captain America. So there are some players in here that I'm fine with, and our starting 11 is fine, but I think that's inevitable. Gregg's obviously going to bring the starters. He's not going to leave out Brendan Aronson. He's not going to leave out Christian Pulisic. Like, if he is, he's getting fired. Like, he's not going to do that. But I think being a great manager comes down to those minute decisions of who you bring. I mean, if you look at last World Cup, 2 World Cups ago, and you look at the World Cup final, if Mario Götze wasn't chosen to be brought on that Germany squad, they wouldn't have won that World Cup. Maybe they would have found another way, but it wouldn't have happened that way.
Yeah.
And that's what makes teams great. You make the right decisions of who to bring and when to bring them, so that when things get down to the wire and your guys that you rely on at all times can't keep doing it, you can bring someone on who you trust and you believe in and that can get the job done. And I really don't think that those 3 players that you named, naming them again, Ricardo Pepi, Jordan Morris, Arriola, I don't think they can do it.
I agree. Jesus Ferreira, I like that pick.
I think that's a good pick.
He's like, I think he's top scorer in
he just,
the MLS right now.
He also just got the number 1 out of like the top 22 players, young players in the MLS as well. So he's rated the best player.
He's having a wonderful season. I'm still not convinced.
I'm not sold. He's not going to start or anything.
On a bigger scale, but I think he's our most solid sub in the forward position. Agree. But I also think Tim Weah should be in there as well.
Oh, 100%. It's just I'm scrolling through the comments right now on Instagram because I'm kind of fuming, and I just see like Weah, Pefok are like the number 1 comment on the whole Instagram post, and everyone like, you know, it's bad when you see comment roster L like 4 times in the top of the comments.
Yeah,
and if no one's talking about, some people are saying like Anthony Robinson, like. Are like they're injured, but like they'll be back for the World Cup 100%.
Yeah.
But still, like it's, I don't know. Like people are talking about other positions a little bit, but I mean those 2 up top. I actually think Weah is injured right now.
Oh, is he?
About it, yeah.
Oh yeah, maybe.
Yeah, but like still and so that means probably I would say Arriola's out, but I think Pefok is it's just crazy. Yeah. It's crazy.
I agree.
How do you not have the guy leading the Bundesliga on your team?
And Ricardo Pepi, he scored like 1 goal recently, but he hadn't scored since like a year ago. Yeah, and he hadn't scored like since a year ago.
It's craziness.
Like, I don't know. Those are our thoughts though on the roster. I really, I think midfield wise is definitely a no-brainer. But there's still some spots to be debated on, and I feel like Gregg might not make the right decision.
No, I don't have full faith. I'm just going to be honest. I'm put it out there. Like, I think that the 2 things I'm worried about that we sort of already covered would be, 1, is Gregg choosing too much young talent over experience? I think it's really essential that we have that experience in the team. Last World Cup, we saw it shine through. Michael Bradley, not what last World Cup, sorry, the last World Cup we played in. We saw it shine through. Michael Bradley was fantastic. He was old though. Like he was actually old.
He was still old, yeah.
So like he wasn't, and he was a starter and everything, but still like he led that team because it's not about how good you are at the World Cup. It's about how bad you want it, how much you're willing to give up for your country, what you're willing to put in. It's just different. So I think it's too naive of Berhalter to think that he can get away without the experience in his squad and that he can just say, oh, we have such a talented young team, we're going to be fine. Like, first game, Wales. What do they have? Not a talented young team? Of course not. They have just as talented, if not more talented than us, young team, and they've got players who play for their country. Gareth Bale plays for that team. He balls for that team. So, like, it's not going to cut it for me if you are relying too much on your youth. And then, I mean, also I think that certain roster decisions are very questionable from him. I mean, just even starting with the goalkeepers, I think there are decisions that he's going to have to make that I don't think he's making those decisions well right now. That's my personal opinion. Yeah. I mean, we could rant about it forever. We actually could. Like, it's crazy. But I'm looking forward to seeing how the friendlies go. When this posts, the friendlies will be done, I'm pretty sure. But that being said, still same thoughts. Nothing will change it. I mean, Ariel could score a hat trick against Japan. Who cares? He's not in the team. So at the end of the day, like, those are our thoughts. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it or not.
No, yeah.
But that concludes the COG Weekly podcast. Season 4, episode 12 for this week. We were so happy to be back. It was good to give you guys a little rant about it. And we will be back, consistently from now on. We sort of gave you guys a Tuchel, Graham Potter rant before. Oh, little side note. This is only USMNT episode, but did you see Brighton signed a new manager?
I did.
Yeah, I'm not happy about it.
Oh, okay.
it was pretty bad. In my opinion,
we'll have to
it's
see.
a bad decision. We'll talk about that another time.
Yeah.
But if you guys are wondering, you can go check it out. Brighton did sign a new manager. Not super happy about it, so just crying in my room about it all day, every day.
That's fair.
Until we meet again, have a great week. Hopefully you can watch some footy. Hopefully you watched the international friendlies or are able to catch up on that stuff because obviously we love our nation. Everyone who's listening that is a US fan. And we will see you guys next week. Peace.